May 9th, 1852. After setting aside my diary yestereve, a party of 5 Indians made their way towards our camp. The menfolk snatched up their rifles, whilst the women hurried to gather the young'uns into the wagons for cover. Malachar was near to firing upon them, but Dr. Goodman managed to still his hand. Martin, fluent in the native tongue on account of his role as our guide, tried to parley with them, but they paid him no mind, walking past as he shouted after them in English, only to receive their laughter in return. Their mirth, in a way, eased our tensions, both in spirit and in arms. They strode right through our circle of wagons, heading straight for where me, Stephen, and Michael were loitering. Turned out, it was a Pawnee warrior we traded with earlier that day. I'd exchanged tobacco for a bit of buffalo meat and dried blackberries. I was taken aback when one of the younger ones in their party spoke up in a halting English, extending an invitation for a smoke in their pipe in their teepee. Feeling a genuine sense of goodwill and kinship in their offer, I accepted, notwithstanding Martine's fierce objections. Stephen and Michael, being comrades of mine, were invited along too. So, we mounted their steeds and rode out to their teepee camp a few miles yonder from the fort. There, scores of teepees caught our eyes. We quickly noticed that there was a gathering of nearly 100 Indians, young and old, men and women, circled around a roughly hewn wooden platform bearing what looked to be a body enshrouded in buffalo hide. Some of the women were given over to tears and lamentations, comforted by their kin. The young lads were minding a great bonfire, and a group of men were beating on a hefty drum placed smack in the middle of it all. We were ushered into a teepee, asked to doff our hats and sit on pillow seats. An elderly man, his skin marked by time, black hair braided, sitting shirtless, revealing muscles wrapped in weathered skin, was among us, presumably their chief. The English-speaking lad explained that the tribe was mourning one of their finest, fallen in a skirmish with a rival band. As guests, we were offered to partake in their tobacco pipe, passed around the circle. Stephen, taking the first puff among us, ended up coughing fiercely, almost needing to step out. Michael, wary after seeing Stephen's reaction, took a mild drag, yet his eyes reddened and he grimaced as he passed the pipe to me. My turn brought a harsh, unfamiliar smoke that sparked an odd lightheadedness and euphoria. As the pipes made its rounds among us, the Indian men engaged in lively banter, occasionally jesting at our expense, to which we could only nod and laugh awkwardly, our translator struggling to keep the pace with the conversation. After some time, they ushered us outside, close to where the drummers were gathered. The drumming filled the air, rich and deep, with a rhythm that thumped steadily, Boom, 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 scarcely wavering. Boom, boom, much akin to the rapid beating of a heart. Boom, 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 boom. Accompanying the drum beats, the men's voices rose. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Though singing might be a generous term for it, their cries were more akin to shouting. Ah! The same lines chanted again and again. Broken now and then by sharp, high-pitched calls from among them. Yow! This outcry melded into something akin to a song spoken aloud. Around the edges, a few folks took to dancing, their feet pounding the earth, bodies twirling, arms stretched wide as if they were eagles descending from the sky. The ceremony stretched on, yet instead of weariness, my mind sharpened, keenly attuned to the smallest shift in rhythm or chant. Closing my eyes, I could picture in my mind's eyes the images of the prairie. Big skies filled with birds, waving grasses, horses stampeding, men charging towards me with painted bare chests, holding tomahawks above their heads. I glanced towards Stephen, who was nodding along to the rhythm, his gaze fixed on the celebration. Eyes wide and shining, a joyous grin spread across his face. Michael was directly ahead of me, his expression hidden by the press of bodies and the gathering of the natives. As the relentless beat continued, an abrupt turn of events unfolded. Michael, losing his balance, went crashing down. In his fall, he nearly bowled over one of the braves, fortuitously softening his descent. Swiftly, he was hoisted back up and passed back to us, a moment of commotion in the steady rhythm of the night. We carried him to a quieter spot at the edge of the dance, where he lay in a dazed haze, drifting in and out of consciousness for the better part of an hour. A stark contrast to the lively energy that had engulfed us moments before. That night, we shared the teepee with our Indian friends. Come morning, Eva and Martine spared no time in scolding us sharply. Martine was ready to leave us behind, if not for Dr. Goodman's persuasive urge to have a short delay.